Hey everyone, this is Real Estate Riches Podcast, and boy, is it going to be rich, full of the wealth and the tips and the tricks of all kinds of successful agents, because that's what you want to be, right? A business builder who has success in their business. Well, that's what we got going on here. And I'm going to have all kinds of agents, men, women, young or older, sharing all their stuff because there's technology, there's just how do you build your business? There's so many questions, right? So let's learn from some of the best. Gather your wealth and build your business. That's what this channel is all about. And I'm excited to bring it to you. I'm Kathy Byrnes and I'll be your host. And stay tuned. Let's get at it, right? Hey everyone, it's Kathy Byrnes with Real Estate Riches, and I'm here with Dalia Glazer, and she's in New York City. I'm really excited to have her on because it's a unique territory. Hey girl.
Hi, how are you?
Great. So we tried this once before and I messed up and didn't record, but we're going to be better this time around. So you're in New York City. It's a unique world of its own, right? And you want to tell us a little bit about your background? Like, how did you get started in real estate and the evolution to where you're at now with the team?
Sure. First, thanks for having me on your show twice.
Thank you.
And yes, so I first started real estate in about 2001, and I started in a rental company.
Mm,
After I was there for a while, it was tenant representation. So after I was there for a while, I moved to a buyer focused agency
mhm.
where it was kind of seamless to go from the tenant representation to buyers.
Sure.
And after that, I realized it was okay, like I'm really good at the buyer thing, but the market was a seller's market. So
Yeah.
I had to focus on listings, but I didn't really have many tools to focus on listings. So I switched to another company that helped me more with that.
Good.
After that, I switched companies again. But at that point, without realizing it, I had three big pillars under my belt.
Mm,
It was a rental business, the buyer agency, and the seller business. So I think for probably in any area, but especially for New York City, that's very important to be well-rounded.
sure.
And with that, I also got foreign investors, which became an interesting part of my business as
I'll
well.
bet.
Once I was always a solo agent, and then I started introducing a few admins. Some worked out, some didn't work out, some worked
Of
out
course.
longer, some worked out. It was all trial and error.
Hmm.
Finally, now I have a full-time virtual assistant and two team members.
That's great. You touched on a lot of points there, how the rental was, because you can make a better commission. Like in our state, if we do a rental, I might make $100, yet I could spend weeks with somebody. It's not worth our time. But your rental commission is very different in New York City, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the rentals are high,
Yeah.
but also everything else is more expensive in New York City. But
Yeah.
it's worthwhile. It
Hmm.
depends on what it is. Like, for example, at this point, I don't really take out too many tenants out,
Hmm.
but I do the rental listings. So, for
Hmm.
example, if I have a client who was a buyer,
Hmm.
and either local or from another country, and they have an apartment that they rent out, then that will be kind of like my account, and I will do the rentals for them. Uh,
Oh,
I mean, I have a system like 90 days out. I let them know to start thinking about if they want to continue with the tenant. I let the tenant know. And then, so it's more like an account. Uh,
yes.
and then that's a way to serve my sellers
Clients. Yeah.
and my clients who are investors in a well-rounded way where they don't
Yeah.
have to worry about it. They know that I'll let them know if something breaks or and it's not necessarily property management.
Oh, I was
Uh,
going to ask you, is it, yeah.
it's not necessarily property management, but it's more like she's taking care of it.
Got it. Which is comforting, I'm sure, especially for an out-of-country investor,
Absolutely.
right? How,
Absolutely. The laws are different. The system is different.
how did you get some of these out-of-country investors? How was your marketing to make that even happen?
So some people are from my own country. I'm from Argentina.
Mm,
It's people that I know or that got referred to me. Some others were from previous agencies where, there was one agency in particular, like they gave out some leads And some of these leads were foreign.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
I sold them an apartment, and then they ended up being a long relationship. Let's put it out.
Right. A coveted raving fan client.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So that's what you want, right?
Right. It's
And
exactly.
the truth is, you want to take care of people all the way. You don't
Yeah.
want to do a transaction. You want to take care of them, their children, their sister, their brother, their friend.
Right.
So just by doing a really good job and really taking care of them and knowing that they can trust you,
Right.
and that's how you keep them.
That's how you do business, period. That's just smart business, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
I'm so surprised when people just do these transactions over and over and over. And I'm like, no, build the relationship. And then you will always have business coming to you because people will refer you.
Yeah. And the truth is, nobody's ready all the time.
Right.
And they have different needs. So I always say to people, I can make someone buy or sell an apartment, but I can be there, or I can show them opportunity, and I can hold their hand through the process and maximize their profit. But I can't make someone want to sell or buy
Right.
because I
Right.
said so. But you want to be there, and you want to be their advisor until they're ready to do so.
I totally agree. What kind of marketing do you do now, or do you count completely on referral marketing?
I do use Instagram. Most of the Instagram, I don't use Instagram to necessarily get leads. I use Instagram more for branding, so people know what I'm doing. So, for example, if I go visit a property, or if I have something that just came on the market, or something just closed, or some, news, market data, I'll use it for that. I don't necessarily use it to get leads. I'm just not like that. Yeah.
You probably have more referral business at this stage. How many years have you been in the business?
I've been in the business for 13 years.
Yeah,
13 or yeah.
so with the kind of service that you're giving to your clients, which is really an important lesson here, is you've really built up a referral relationship business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it takes a long time
Yeah.
because, before real estate, you have another life.
Yeah.
Your other life is very different than your real estate life. So you really need to earn that trust, even with your friends, even with your family. No one is going to give you their brother's investment just because you're doing real estate. You really have to earn it. So in some cases, with friends of mine, it took them maybe like 6 years, 10 years to trust me with their loved one.
Right.
And
I get that too. It's okay, right?
And it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. But I think sometimes for new agents, they're like, oh, so-and-so's not giving me business, and you really have to build it. And the same way, when you meet a new person, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to trust you just because they called about an apartment and you want to show it to them. You've got to show your values. You got to show that you know what you're talking about, that you're going to do the best for them. You got to be engaged, be proactive. And then one thing leads to another. Hopefully they become your client.
Well, you touched on two things for me right there. One was how important it is for you to build up relationships. And I think the need when, like, for example, my mission on this whole podcast is really for the 40-plus-year-old agents that are struggling in this industry and they're trying to figure it out. And for the tech part of it, I think tech is very important. But for you, you built up relationships with people, which is critical. I just did a video the other day and I talked about, how people get ticked off because you didn't use me as your agent. I said, get over that. If they didn't use you as your agent, then they either a couple of things. Maybe they didn't trust you that you could handle the job. The other was maybe they didn't want you to know their intimate financial scenarios. And it was probably a smart move that they didn't use you so that you stayed either close connected in your family or with your friend, right?
Or maybe you didn't get in front of them enough.
Yes.
I had a couple that they bought an apartment with me. They sold they did 2 transactions with me. And for the third one, they were like, they were separated and you were talking to the wrong one. The one with financial decisions was the other one. I
Pick up on
didn't
that.
stay on, I was keeping up with the other person, not the one who made the financial decisions, and they decided to sell their house and I was out.
Yeah.
Then we did business again. But but these things happen.
Yeah, you
You
just
just
got to
have
pay
to take the
attention.
high road and say, it's okay,
Yeah,
and then learn from that and say, okay, well, maybe I just didn't get in front of them enough, or maybe I
mhm.
didn't provide enough value, or maybe I just didn't call them to say, how are you doing?
Right. Another good point. Staying connected. Just because you sold them a house doesn't mean they're going to do it 5 years down the road when they're ready for the next one. You have to stay connected on a regular basis. They got to know that you're still out there doing it. They've got to know that, where you are in the market, are you keeping up? And you were saying, be knowledgeable of the market and all the expertise that you've had with these different uh, companies and styles that you've done, from the rentals to the sales, the buyers, all of that. If ever we needed to know our value and be able to portray our value, it's now with this whole NAR thing. We have to feel confident ourselves. And that's an important piece so that we can portray it of why we're worth our commission, whether we're a buyer's agent or a seller's agent. We needed to do it more with a seller's agent before, but even more so now as buyer's agents. We've got to prove our value.
Yeah, and I think the language is different, because before, when we had a buyer, there was no loss for them. All
Yes.
they got was a free service in a way,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote, because someone's paying for the service.
Right.
And now more than ever, it's going to be a different conversation.
Just a
And we
different
don't have to get
conversation.
used to it. We don't
Yeah.
have to get used to it. I mean, I'm here to stay, so I'm gonna have to do it just as much as I had to do it for the sellers. So
Well, we have to, this industry, as almost every industry, it changes. I did financial planning before this. I got in right as there was a big crash. And it was funny because when I got into real estate, there was a big crash. But the thing is, I wasn't quitting. This was where I was going to be. You got to figure it out. They added due diligence in our state after I got in, and everybody was so scared it was never going to work out. The whole world was falling, the sky was falling. And I'm like, no, they're going to teach us. We're going to know. And they did. And we're
you have
fine.
to have faith.
Yeah. Well, and if it's your business, you better figure it out, right?
Right. And also, what about when there was no internet and then all of a sudden came the internet?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about change.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It was a gift. And it's like right now with AI, a lot of agents are afraid of AI. Me, I'm a maniac for it. I love it. I see all the ways that it can enhance our business. And a lot of agents are choosing not to pay attention to it, which I caution them because it's a big deal. I wanted to talk about being a individual agent versus being on a team.
Mhm.
What's your thought process about when someone's new to the industry or struggling? Do you think they should be on a team and kind of get some support?
Yes. When someone has no experience, they should definitely be on a team. They need the support. It's just too hard to navigate all on your own.
Yeah, you don't even
Because
have the language.
even if people have a network, without experience is not, they're not going to give it to you, number one, because you don't have experience. And then two, you can really screw something up.
Yes, yes,
So, and it's, or, like the person could not close those people. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's better to have 50% or whatever the split is with an experienced agent than, and that goes for every time you're coming up on
yes,
a level. Because, for
yes,
example, if you're trying to get higher price points and something is not in your, it's not your league, then you should pair up with someone who knows more.
yes,
If you're doing
yes.
commercial is different. Commercial, I would just refer out.
Me
There's
too.
not even it. I won't even try to
It's
do it
another animal.
with people. I would just refer it out. That's my point of view on
Me
if you're
too. Me
trying to,
too.
yeah.
You brought up a good point. I have a lot of, like, you're in New York City, so you're in a hub, but it's still, you're congested to get to one spot to another. Do you kind of stay centralized to where your territory is?
Well, I have my home in Brooklyn. My office is in Flatiron. So I go back and forth, but I really go where my clients go.
Mm.
I have been in New York City for like 35 years or so. So I really know this city.
Mm-hmm.
Is not, I can go anywhere in Manhattan and Brooklyn. I can figure other things out or refer them out if I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of sending postcards or farming, or is that what you're talking about? Like,
No, not necessarily like where you'll travel to, like in a single day. Like if you're working from your home and that's primarily your territory, are you willing to go way outside your territory just for the deal, or do you refer it?
Not way outside my territory, but my territory is pretty much, so there are two things. So my territory is Manhattan and Brooklyn. If I have someone in Washington Heights, which is higher up than I would normally go, then I would refer it out. Or I would have a team member who does that part of town.
Right. See, that makes sense to me.
Right.
There's a lot of agents when they're new, they'll go like an hour and a half, 2 hours out. And I go, why, first of all, why would you waste your time on that for a listing or a buyer? And I said, and how can you know the territory out there where you're really servicing your client? And me, I stay in a vicinity. I got like this big circle and I stay within my circle. And like Charlotte, I don't know Charlotte. Occasionally, I will have a client that'll say they want to be down in Charlotte. I say, I'll go look at some homes for you. But I said, it's not my strength. I'm telling you that right now. I may partner with somebody up, but especially if it's been a long time client and they trust me. But I have a heart to heart with them. That's not my strength, but I'll figure it out and I'll get somebody in there to give me insights. But normally I stay within my circle. And also when I was first starting out, I didn't have the gas money to even drive all those crazy places.
We use the subway.
Yeah, a subway, cheaper. And I
it's
just
definitely more practical and more focused.
Yeah.
It's more practical, more focused. But I do feel like sometimes I wouldn't call it outside of my territory because my territory is Manhattan and Brooklyn. But if we're talking micro and we're saying like, okay, this neighborhood, that's just not enough here.
Oh yeah, I get
It's
that.
not enough. I feel like, my foreign buyers are not going to buy in my neighborhood. Sometimes people are looking for a specific thing and they're not going to buy in my neighborhood. So I do. I mean, I know Manhattan like the palm of my hand and I'm not afraid of it. I know it. So if I have to do a little bit, if I have to do a little bit of more homework on a particular building, then it's okay.
Sure.
It's okay. I can still handle it. If it's something like a house in Queens, I may job that out to somebody else or assign it to a team member if they're familiar with that. So we can definitely help everyone.
Yeah.
I don't say no. I just try to pair them up with the right people.
Exactly. So what would you say to somebody that fits our kind of role model here? They're in their 40 plus age. They're struggling in this market. They're living in your territory. How would you, and the other thing is that they're open-minded enough to, which is what you've been. You've changed companies as you needed to level up in different scenarios. Me too, because you're constantly trying to level up.
You've got to level up.
Right? And you were open enough to take a look at each stage along the way. Some people are struggling with a company and they're saying, well, I just want to stay here. I encourage people to be open enough to see, should they go over here and join a team? I don't care what company it is. They need to be doing some homework, I think, and seeing how they can level up. What are some of your thoughts for somebody in that age group trying to figure out how to do this?
The first thing I would do is, where am I coming short?
Yes.
Where am I not functioning well? Is it that I'm bored because I've been doing the same thing all the time? Then maybe you need to level up and then find, okay, well, what excites me about leveling up? Like, do I want to expand my territory? Do I want to up my price points? Do I need more business? Do I need less business? Do I need more leverage? So I think that's the first thing that I would do, just analyze your current business and seeing which way you need to go.
Yes.
I would definitely have an open mind about different agencies and what each offers me.
Yes.
Never burn any bridges.
Right. Really important.
Yeah. If you exit one, then you always keep, because really the only reason, a lot of the times you're only leaving one agency just because you just need something different in your business. It's not that you hate them or,
It's
So
business.
I like every agency I've worked in, I absolutely loved everybody.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, the good old times. And I got something out of it. And every step of the way, you get something out of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yeah, things just don't work. And that's okay. You
Right.
did it, you tried. And another thing is in this business, you have to be a risk taker. You can't
Yes.
just sit there. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
just sit
yeah.
there. You've got to be a risk taker. You got to work on faith a lot of the times. I mean, you take a buyer out, nobody's telling you that they're going to buy or that this thing is going to sell. You have to do your best and pray.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is taking things on faith.
Yes.
I mean, of course, you have to do the work.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you just take it and pray, but you have to do the work. But obviously there is risk taking. But I think also it's your own business, and business people like entrepreneurs are risk takers.
Yes. Yes, they
That if
really
you're
are.
not a risk taker, if you're not out there, if you're not pushing the envelope, and if you don't want to level up, then you get another job.
Yeah, that's what I say too. This isn't for
Yeah.
you. This isn't for you. So I joined my team that I'm on now back in 2017, and I'd had my own team, and then my team broke up. And I had people say to me all the time, "Why did you join a team when you had your own team and you were successful and blah blah blah?" I said, "Because I was at an age when it was great to hand off some of the weight of having the responsibility of a team or even being by myself. I can be a great producer, but there's a point when you're like, "Oh my gosh, just let me slow down a bit," you know? And even though it may have appeared like I made less money because I was doing a split, I really didn't because it took so much weight off my back. And that's the point. We're all at different stages in our life, and you really need to have a hard sit down look. What's going on in your business? What do you want? When do you want to stop? All those different plans to kind of figure it out of what is the right move. And don't be afraid to ask questions. And don't be insulted when someone says, just come over here and come over here because this is the way to go. It may not be the way to go for you, but you need to be open enough to take a look at stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And also it's like talk to other people. Like what are other
Yes,
people doing? What are other
right.
agents doing? How do they run their business? Because everybody really does it in a very particular way.
Yes.
Like the way people do splits, the way people do how they handle their admins, and you can
Yeah.
get ideas and then see what works for you.
Yeah. I
You
totally
know,
agree with
there's
that.
no there's no manual.
There's not a real manual. There's a lot of books, but
Yes.
I do think it's important to be surround yourself with leaders that are succeeding and get in a mastermind group, get in a networking group of different business owners so that you can really build relationships. But I love a mastermind group. I got one tonight at 6 o'clock. A bunch of agents together. We're getting together to just like, let's talk about what's going on with NAR. What are you struggling with? What are you struggling with? Let's brainstorm. Let's help each other. And I think you can start your own. That's what I'm doing.
And also, I think Zoom is great, but I think a lot of the times you really, I mean, at least for me, I get so much more when I'm in person.
Yes.
I'm just one of those people. Like I get more when I'm in person. And I think we've lost a little bit of that,
Yep.
but we gained access to a lot of other things. So, it's just like mixing it up a little
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is a good thing too.
So, in closing, any other lessons that you want to share, real estate lessons that you've learned you'd love to share?
Work hard, and then smart.
Hmm.
Leverage when you can. There are some things that are not worth your time doing.
Yep.
What else?
Do you have a VA or an assistant
A
that's local?
VA.
A VA, yeah, me too. I have.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that was a gift to me to just take so many things off my plate. I did a video on how to hire VAs over in the Philippines, which is really good. I can put that link below. But I think it's really important to recognize you don't have to do it all. You don't have to go 24/7. I did that for probably 10 years of my career. And I'm like, you get burnt out in this business, and that's
Yeah.
real. And you have to
Yeah.
take care of you.
In New York is pretty intense. We have co-ops and co-op board packages. They're very detailed. They can be 200 pages. or well, now a lot of them are digital. But for example, one of the things that my VA can do this, it's very specific. So there are people who do this day in, day out. They do board packages, and I just job that out.
Yeah.
And that's
Worth it.
that saves so much time and headache, because let's think about this. It's not just the time, it's the mental clutter.
Oh,
Mental
right.
clutter. So if I know that I have to get to that, I have to get to that, I have to get to that. It's just like, that's just so much noise where I can, even if I'm not doing anything,
Yeah.
it's mental noise. It's
Yes.
garbage.
And stress.
So, right. So I think identifying the things that you really don't need to do are a good first step
I do too.
to start leveraging.
Yeah.
Showings, do you have to be there for every show? I mean, I know you guys have the buyer go and open the door, right? Like there's a key. No?
No,
You
an
don't have
agent
that?
has to be there.
Okay, okay, so it's like here, like the agent has to be here.
Yeah.
My team does some of my open houses.
Yes.
We report back. I'm in touch. I know who's coming, who's not going. We follow up, but that's also another part where I can leverage.
Yes.
Or a person could leverage. And it's
Right.
good for them because then they can pick up a buyer and then
Yeah. I love it. I have a friend right now. She's in my organization and she has a 2.85 waterfront that the lot itself is incredible. The house is a gut. Get the whole house. You'd think for that price it wouldn't be a gut, but it is, because it can be a $5 million home when you're done, and it's stunning. And I said to her, "Do you need some open houses done on this?" I said, "Let's move this puppy. It's kind of sitting here a while." She goes, "Well, I don't know who to go to." I said, "I'll help you get some open house people." So I just went on my team. I posted it in there and I said, I gave them concepts of what to think about too. How long to do an open house? Because some of these people just do a 2-hour open house,
no.
put it in the MLS and they're done. I go, no, you got to market the daylights out of this, and it better be 3 hours. You better do Facebook Lives before, Facebook Live during. Think about who your target market is, because that's a unique buyer. They got to be willing to gut it. You can find flippers that'll do 2.8 million. Find the flippers that'll do this and go after them.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, it's not just like you put something and then you're done. You've got to work it. That's the
Work
difference
it.
between, and I learned this in my early days with the rentals. They said we don't show apartments, we rent them. So I'm going to say the same thing. Like, we don't show apartments, we sell them, right? So that's the philosophy. You don't just open the door and wait for the thing to sell itself.
Yeah.
It
Because
doesn't happen that way.
if it's not your listing and you're doing an open house, what's your agenda? Just to be a nice guy? No, I want to find a buyer. And I would like to get maybe a listing agent or a seller in the neighborhood sees how great I do my open houses, says, man, I want her to sell my house, or him. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think that's the whole marketing piece of it. Get out there and make it happen.
Well, I think it's trying to find the opportunities, trying to create opportunities. So like, for example, if you don't have a listing, then create the opportunity by going to someone else's listing.
Yes.
And then an offering to help out and do an open house, or
yes,
like, you just have to get creative. Also, that's the other thing about this business. You really have to be creative, not just for how to do the business, but how to negotiate, how to present. I mean, I think a lot of the times, so I have a background in the arts, and like, I'm creative, but when people say creative, people immediately start thinking like, oh, she draws well, or like he draws well. It's not, that's mechanical. Creativity is in the mind. So when you're negotiating, I think that for me is, I excel at that because my brain is just going in every direction. I try to pull this from here, that from there. I think of things, and that's like
the magic.
You can't teach that.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't teach that. You can teach that by having, not teach, but you can have experience, and the experience makes it even better. But you have to have that creativity, that risk taking. It's all adrenaline.
Yeah. But you know what's great is your team experiences your creativity, so they can pick up experience from you. And that's, again, is why it's so important to surround yourself with power players, right?
Yeah. And they're not wasting as much time. Just, they can just say, okay, well, like, I've learned from my own mistakes. I mean, it's kind of like having kids. You learn from your mistakes. You tell them, they listen or they don't listen, but the advice is there.
Yeah. Very true, very true. Well, I think that's why these things like this, like podcasts or whatever, when you're listening to agents talk about their stories, how they handle different things, how they think, how they plan their hours, how they hire to leverage things out. These are the tools, these are the nuggets that agents can get where they pay attention. And I think the ones that have enough hustle in them will be the ones who are listening and who will survive. The ones that don't have the hustle, they won't make it, especially during these changes. Well, listen, this has been great. I appreciate you coming back since I didn't record it the first time. And everybody will have all her information on here. I'm so grateful for you and sharing all your wisdom with us. And I hope everybody shares this, spreads the word. And if you're in New York City, you better look her up because she's your gal.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
So thanks for joining me on this episode of Real Estate Riches. Wasn't that great? I'm sure you got a nugget or two. I know I did. So if you liked it, please subscribe below, share it with everybody, make some comments. We really find that invaluable. And if you're thinking that you would love to talk about this a little bit more, let's schedule a business strategy call. I'll have the link below. And let's see if we can't mastermind together and see if we can empower each other. That would be great. So until next time, signing off. Hope to see you on the next one.